Alright, so I don't know how many of y'all did this, but last week we were supposed to find a blog article or something that shocked, interested, or stood out to us, and then we're supposed to discuss it. So I did, and I was looking forward to sharing it with y'all last week, but we ran out of time. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to read this letter that I found online, and I'm just going to read my script, the piece that I wrote in response to that letter. So first of all, this is not an attack on Texas A&M University or the Muscular Dystrophy Association. It is simply a primer for conversation about two global issues: animal research and the misrepresentation of people with disabilities. So this is a letter addressed to the president of Texas A&M University, Michael Young, from a surgeon, practicing surgeon with muscular dystrophy. Dear President Young, I'm writing to you as a practicing surgeon and as a patient with muscular dystrophy to request your kind intervention in a troubling matter that recently came to my attention. I was appalled to learn that a member of your faculty, Professor Joe Cornegade, uses selective breeding and artificial insemination to create colonies of dogs to have crippling muscular dystrophy. Professor Cornegade then uses these dogs in experiments, extending and contracting their muscles to measure the damage done to the dog's muscles. He has been carrying out this work for 35 years, but his experiments have not produced results that help humans suffering from muscular dystrophy. Still, Texas A&M is allowing this practice to continue. I'm writing to ask that you please intervene on behalf of these animals and the people who live with this disease to end this experimentation and instead focus Texas A&M's resources on sophisticated, human-relevant methods for studying the disease. As a surgeon, I am well aware of the differing physiologies of humans and dogs that make dogs poor surrogates for human disease. Duchenne muscular dystrophy manifests itself differently in dogs than it does in humans. Both neonatal death and growth retardation in humans with the disease is rare, whereas 20 to 30% of puppies bred for this research die, and the ones who survive are 40% smaller than their peers by 6 months of age. Dogs who are quadrupeds do not lose their ability to walk as biped humans do. As an individual with muscular dystrophy, I would rather continue to suffer than have someone abuse dogs in their failing search for a cure. From the eyewitness video released by PETA, it is obvious that the dogs in this laboratory are not provided with the comfort and care that sick dogs deserve. Witnessing these dogs in their barren metal kennels, struggling just to live, is heartbreaking. I appeal to you as president of Texas A&M to end this suffering now. Sincerely, Sandeep Vijan, MD, FACS. This letter is one of many examples of people with disabilities speaking out against animal research on the very diseases that cause their disabilities. The wants and needs of people with disabilities often take a back seat to the profits of those who claim to work on their behalf. A few weeks ago, we read about Ben Matlin's experience as a poster child for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Even as a child, he realized that he was being misrepresented and taken advantage of in their fundraising campaigns. Last week, we talked about how glorifying the search for a cure actually contributes to the marginalization of people with disabilities. Advocates should focus more on changing society than changing individuals. However, the search for a cure should not be totally abandoned. Normally, I'd focus on the extreme cruelty of animal research or the fact that animals are individuals and not objects to be used. However, in this class, I want to focus on how continued animal research does a disservice to humans with disabilities. So, in short, and like I said, I couldn't find good numbers for you, but animal research is extremely expensive, very time-consuming, and it often lacks validity when it comes to applying findings to humans. Think about it. You're having to raise animals to a certain age to where you can do experiments on them. You're having to feed them. You're having to house them. And as similar as we are to animals, we're not the same. So it's just adding another step in the process. We're going to have to test on humans anyways. So it's very wasteful. So I want you to imagine a future when we don't need animal testing anymore. In this future, we have invented economical, lightning-fast, human-specific computer models, stem cells, non-invasive imaging techniques, microdosing, etc. Do you think that those who profit off the animal research complex would admit it? Do you think that the companies that genetically engineer, breed, and sell animals would happily reinvent their business model? Do you think that researchers would immediately tear down expensive animal containment facilities, effectively saying no thank you to billions of dollars in annual grants from the government? Well, I think that future is already here. For example, researchers in Dallas and London, respectively, have recently used stem cells from actual human patients with muscular dystrophy to recreate affected heart and skeletal muscle cells to experiment on. We have a responsibility as taxpayers, researchers, and future doctors of physical therapy to do what is best for people with disabilities. It is up to us to shift the focus away from simply finding a cure and towards transforming society to be more inclusive for people with disabilities. Likewise, when it comes to finding cures, it is up to us to reject wasteful animal research and demand superior human-specific research. I agree that it can be useful, but, we just got to ask ourselves, where do we draw the line when we have these human-specific options, and then we have somebody breeding dogs to have muscular dystrophy for, the letter said 35 years, but that was 2 years ago. For 37 years. Where do we draw the line? Imagine how much money they've spent. And that's just one case. That's just one high-profile case of hot topic right now. This is going on all over the world. So just think about it. It's up to us to create the future that we want. So thank you for listening.